The morning snow crunched under Jack Thompson's boots as he made his way through the dense forest of the Rocky Mountains. His breath came out in white puffs in the cold air. 20 years of living alone in these mountains had taught him to notice when something was different. Today, something was very different. A strange light had woken him up before dawn. At first, he thought it was the northern lights, but it moved too fast and was too bright. Then came the sound, a high-pitched whine followed by a crash that echoed through the valley. Whatever it was, it had landed about 2 miles from his cabin. Jack adjusted the hunting rifle on his shoulder and kept walking. He didn't really think he would need it, but old habits died hard. Probably just a satellite or some space junk, he thought. Still, he had to check. That was the rule he lived by. Always investigate anything unusual. In the wilderness, curiosity wasn't just about satisfaction. It was about survival. The first sign that this was something more than space junk was the broken trees. They weren't just snapped or burned. They were bent in impossible ways, as if gravity had stopped working for a few seconds. The snow around the area had melted in a perfect circle, revealing the dead grass underneath. In the center of the circle lay what looked like an egg-shaped pod, about the size of a small car. Its surface was made of some kind of metal Jack had never seen before. It seemed to shift colors slightly when he looked at it from different angles. Part of its shell had cracked open, revealing a dark interior. "Hello," Jack called out, more from habit than expecting an answer. "Anyone hurt?" A soft blue glow pulsed from inside the pod, followed by a sound that made the hair on the back of his neck stand up. It wasn't quite a moan, and wasn't quite a word. It was something in between, like music trying to become speech. Jack set his rifle down carefully and approached the pod. As his eyes adjusted to the darkness inside, he saw her. At first, he thought she was wearing some kind of silvery suit, but then he realized that was her skin. It had a metallic sheen to it, and patterns of light moved across it like ripples on water. She looked almost human, but not quite. Her face was similar to a human's, but her features were more angular, more delicate. Her eyes were twice the size of human eyes and completely silver, with no visible pupils. She was trapped under a section of the pod's interior that had collapsed. When she saw Jack, she went completely still, like a deer in headlights. The lights under her skin flickered rapidly. "It's okay," Jack said softly, holding up his empty hands. "I'm not going to hurt you. I want to help." The alien girl, Jack couldn't think of her any other way, made that musical sound again, but this time it ended in what was clearly a whimper of pain. She tried to move and flinched. Jack didn't need to speak her language to understand that. Pain was universal. He moved slowly, making sure she could see his hands at all times, and examined how she was trapped. The material pinning her looked heavy, but he thought he could lift it enough for her to slide free. "I'm going to lift this," he said, pointing to the debris, and then making a lifting motion. "When I do, you need to move." He pointed to her and made a sliding gesture. She blinked those silver eyes at him, and he saw understanding there. Smart. Whatever she was smart. Jack braced himself and lifted. The material was lighter than it looked, but still heavy enough to strain his muscles. The alien girl moved quickly, pulling herself free with surprising grace despite her injuries. Once clear, she collapsed against the pod's wall, her silvery skin now marred with what looked like bruises that glowed a faint purple. The morning was getting colder, and Jack could see she was shivering. Without thinking too much about it, he took off his thick wool coat and held it out to her. She stared at it for a moment, then at him, then back at the coat. Slowly, carefully, she reached out and took it. "My cabin's not far," Jack said, pointing in the direction he'd come from. "You need medical help, and it's too cold out here." She clutched his coat around her shoulders and tried to stand. Her legs buckled, and Jack caught her before she could fall. She felt surprisingly light in his arms, like she was hollow inside. The alien girl looked up at him, and for a moment, Jack saw something that transcended species: gratitude. She made a sound, softer this time, almost like a whisper, and touched her chest. Jack understood. She was trying to tell him her name. It sounded like a wind chime in a storm. "How about I call you Rose?" he said, tapping his own chest, and then pointing to her. "I'm Jack." She blinked, then nodded slowly. Whether she understood the name or just his intent didn't matter. What mattered was getting her somewhere safe before whatever had caused her to crash came looking for her. Jack's cabin wasn't much, but it was warm and secure. He had built it himself 15 years ago, after leaving his life in the city behind. Now, for the first time, he had a guest, and not just any guest, but an alien who sat wrapped in blankets by his fireplace, her silvery skin reflecting the dancing flames. Rose, as he now called her, hadn't spoken since he brought her here 3 days ago. But she watched everything with those large, silver eyes. She watched how he made fire, how he cooked, how he cleaned her wounds with his first aid kit. The bruises on her skin had changed from purple to a soft blue that pulsed with her heartbeat. On the 4th morning, Jack woke up to find Rose sitting at his wooden table, surrounded by bits and pieces of his broken radio. His first instinct was to be angry. That radio was his only link to weather reports and emergency broadcasts. But before he could say anything, Rose raised her hand over the scattered parts. The lights under her skin brightened, and the pieces began to move. Jack watched in amazement as screws twisted themselves back into place and wires reconnected on their own. Within minutes, the radio wasn't just fixed. It was better than new. It picked up stations it never had before, and the static was completely gone. "Thank you," Jack said, pointing to the radio and smiling. Rose touched her chest and made a soft humming sound. Then she picked up a pencil and one of Jack's old notebooks. Her hand moved quickly across the paper, drawing strange symbols and diagrams. When she showed it to him, Jack saw what looked like a map of stars, with one particular star circled repeatedly. "Is that your home?" he asked, pointing to the circled star. Rose shook her head violently, and the lights under her skin flickered in what Jack had come to recognize as fear. She turned to a new page and drew what looked like people running from something. Above them, she drew shapes that reminded Jack of the pod she had crashed in, but bigger, more threatening. "You're running from something," Jack said slowly. "Someone's chasing you." Rose nodded, then drew more symbols. She pointed to herself, then made a series of gestures that seemed to show something flowing or connecting. When Jack looked confused, she walked over to his laptop computer, which he kept for emergencies, but rarely used since internet connection was spotty this far up in the mountains. Like with the radio, she held her hand over it. The laptop turned on by itself. Programs opened and closed rapidly, files appeared and disappeared, and the screen filled with code that scrolled too fast to read. Rose's skin glowed brighter, and Jack felt the air become charged with static electricity. Then, words appeared on the screen. "Danger coming. Must hide. Help me." Jack stared at the screen, then at Rose. She could have done anything with that power, could have used his computer to call for help, to contact her people, to do who knew what else. Instead, she was asking for his help. "Yes," he said firmly. "I'll help you hide." Rose's skin brightened with what Jack now recognized as relief, but their moment of understanding was interrupted by a low rumble that shook the cabin's windows. Rose ran to the window, her movements now fully healed and graceful. Her skin dimmed to almost gray as she looked at the sky. Through the clouds, Jack saw flashes of light that reminded him of the night Rose had crashed. But these were different, more organized, more purposeful. They were searching patterns. Rose grabbed his arm, her touch sending a slight electric tingle through his skin. Her eyes met his, and she pointed to the laptop screen where new words had appeared. "They are here. Please help. Not much time." Jack nodded and began gathering supplies. He didn't understand everything that was happening, but he understood enough. Someone was hunting Rose, and they were close. His years of wilderness survival experience were about to be put to a very different kind of test. As he packed, his emergency radio picked up a broadcast. Unexplained atmospheric phenomena in the Rocky Mountain region. Military officials advise residents to remain calm and report any unusual sightings. Jack looked at Rose, who was quickly drawing more star maps. He had a feeling things were about to get very complicated. 2 weeks had passed since the lights in the sky. Jack and Rose had moved deeper into the mountains, staying in one of the old mining caves Jack had discovered years ago. He had stocked it with emergency supplies long ago, never thinking he'd use it to hide an alien fugitive. Rose's English was improving at an incredible speed. She learned not just words, but entire concepts in hours. It was as if her mind could absorb information directly from the world around her. The same way she could control machines, she seemed to be able to understand language by simply being exposed to it. "Jack," she said one evening as they sat by their small camp stove. Her voice had a musical quality, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "I need to tell you truth." He looked up from the beans he was heating. "I'm listening." "My people, we are called." She made a sound that seemed to echo in Jack's head, but then simplified it. "We are watchers. We watch other worlds, other peoples. But some watchers want more than watch. They want." She struggled for the word, then pointed to the cave floor and drew a circle, then smaller circles inside it. "Want all worlds inside their control." "They want to conquer other planets?" Jack asked. Rose nodded. "Yes. Conquer. They make weapons. New weapons, special weapons." Her skin darkened to a deep gray. "I am weapon." Jack set down his cooking pot. "You're a weapon." "How?" Rose stood up and walked to the battery-powered lantern they were using. She touched it, and suddenly every electronic device in the cave came to life. Their emergency radio, Jack's phone, even his old watch that had stopped working years ago. The devices floated into the air, orbiting around her like satellites. "I can talk to machines," she said. "Can make them do what I want. Can shut them down. Can make them fight." The devices settled back down gently. "But I not want to fight. Not want to hurt." Jack was quiet for a moment, processing this information. "That's why they're looking for you. You ran away because you didn't want to be used as a weapon." "Yes." Rose sat back down, pulling her knees to her chest. "But is worse. They come to Earth because..." She stopped as a deep humming filled the air. Jack quickly turned off their camp stove. The humming grew louder, and Rose's skin began to pulse with warning lights. She grabbed Jack's arm and pulled him deeper into the cave, into a small side tunnel they had prepared. Through a crack in the rocks, they watched as a beam of light swept through the main cave. It wasn't like any searchlight Jack had ever seen. It seemed to pass through solid objects, scanning everything it touched. "What are they looking for?" Jack whispered. "My energy," Rose whispered back. "Every weapon they make has special mark. They can track." She pressed herself closer to the cave wall, trying to make herself as small as possible. The beam passed by their hiding spot 3 times before moving on. They waited another hour before emerging. But when they did, Rose was shaking. "They are closer now," she said, "using Earth machines to help search. Your military satellites, radar stations, all helping them without knowing." "How?" Jack asked. Rose walked to Jack's phone and touched it. Text appeared on the screen. "Infiltration complete. Human systems compromised." "My people good at hiding in machines," she said. "They hide in computers, in networks. Earth not know they here for long time." She looked at Jack with her silver eyes. "But you help me. You show me humans can be trusted. Now I must warn Earth." Jack felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cave's temperature. "How long have they been here, Rose?" She pointed to his phone again. New text appeared. "Since first or adio janelle. Since first computer. We avalwa was bee in dwa teaching. Outside, the humming grew louder again, and somewhere in the distance, military helicopters began to approach. Dawn broke over the mountains as Jack and Rose made their way through a narrow valley. They had been moving all night, staying away from any paths or trails. The sound of helicopters had faded, but Rose's skin kept flickering with warning pulses of light. "We need to rest," Jack said, pointing to a dense cluster of trees ahead. "There's an old hunter's shelter there." Rose nodded, but her silver eyes kept scanning the sky. Once inside the small wooden shelter, she immediately went to work, her hands moving over the walls. Lights rippled under her skin as she created what she called a blind spot, a space that her people's sensors couldn't detect. "Jack," she said softly, once she had finished, "I must show you something. Full truth." Her voice trembled slightly. "You may hate me after." "I won't hate you, Rose." She shook her head. "You don't know yet." She walked to the center of the small room and held out her hands. Her skin began to glow brighter than Jack had ever seen, and the air filled with a soft hum. Then her form seemed to shift and change. Jack watched in amazement as Rose's appearance altered. Her silver skin became more metallic, with visible patterns that looked like circuit boards running beneath it. Her fingers elongated slightly, ending in points that sparked with tiny electric arcs. Most striking were her eyes. They now showed swirling patterns of code, like living computer screens. "This is real me," she said. "Not weapon they made. Weapon they grew. They take human DNA, mix with Watcher technology. Make new thing. Make me." Jack took a step back. "Human DNA. You're part human." Rose nodded. "Long ago, Watchers take samples. Many samples. Try many times to make weapon that can control all machines. Fail always. Then try with human DNA." She looked at her hands. "Humans special. Your minds. They touch machines different. Make connections we cannot. That's why they're on Earth," Jack said slowly, understanding dawning. "They're not just watching us. They're harvesting us. Yes, but more." Rose walked to Jack's backpack and pulled out his phone. With a touch, she made it project a holographic display onto the shelter wall. It showed a complex network of lines and nodes. "This is Earth's computer networks, power grids, all systems. Watchers hide in all. Wait for time to take control." The display changed, showing military installations, satellites, and defense systems. "They want Earth because humans are key. Human DNA, human technology, human minds, all connected. Perfect weapon." Jack watched as the display showed more details about the alien infiltration. "How many of them are here?" "Hundreds. Inside computers, inside networks. Some look like humans now." Rose's skin dimmed. "They make more like me, but ones who want to fight, want to help take over." "But you're different," Jack said. "You ran away. Human part of me. It feels too much. Cannot hurt others." She touched her chest. "Feel emotions like humans. Feel right, feel wrong. Other weapons feel only orders." Suddenly, Rose stiffened. Her skin flashed bright warning patterns. "They come. Many. In machines." Through the shelter's small window, Jack saw what she meant. In the valley below, a convoy of military vehicles was moving along the road. But these weren't normal vehicles. Their metal surfaces seemed to ripple and shift, and blue light pulsed beneath their armor plating. "They take control," Rose whispered. "Use human machines against us now. How long do we have?" Rose's eyes flickered with code. "Minutes. They know I'm near. But..." She turned to Jack, her expression determined. "Now you know truth. Still want to help?" Jack looked at her. This being who was part alien, part human, created to be a weapon but choosing to be something more. He thought about everything she had shown him, about the invisible invasion that had been happening right under humanity's nose. "I'm not helping you because of what you are," he said firmly. "I'm helping you because of who you chose to be." Rose's skin brightened with what Jack now recognized as hope. She reached out and touched his hand, sending a small spark between them. Then we must hurry. Must reach Old Human Place. Place with no new machines. Place where I can send warning to all Earth. Outside, the sound of engines grew closer, and the sky began to fill with strange, shimmering aircraft. The old Cold War bunker lay hidden beneath 3 decades of forest growth. Jack had discovered it years ago, while tracking a wounded deer, but he'd never thought it would become his last hope for saving Earth. He and Rose crouched in the thick underbrush, watching the entrance. No new machines inside, Rose whispered, her skin dimmed to match the shadows around them. All old technology. Simple. They cannot hide in it. Behind them, the sounds of the hunt grew closer. The possessed military vehicles had split up, forming a search grid that was slowly closing in on their position. Above, strange aircraft that looked like black triangles moved silently through the clouds, their surfaces rippling like liquid metal. How many are chasing us now? Jack asked, checking his backpack of supplies one last time. Rose's eyes flickered with code as she scanned. 20 ground vehicles, 6 air units, all controlled by watchers. She paused, her skin pulsing with concern. And something else. Something new coming. A deep thrumming filled the air, making the ground vibrate. Over the mountain ridge, a massive shape appeared. It looked like a storm cloud at first, but as it drew closer, Jack could see it was actually thousands of tiny machines moving together like a swarm of insects. "Hunter swarm," Rose said, her voice tight with fear. "They use it to find weapons that run away, to find ones like me." Jack watched as the swarm spread out, forming a net of floating machines that began to sweep the forest. Wherever they passed, electronics sparked and died. "Can they sense you?" "Yes, but..." Rose touched the ground, sending ripples of light through her fingertips. "Earth helps hide me. So much metal and ground here. Old machines. Confuses them." They waited until the nearest section of the swarm passed over, then made their run to the bunker entrance. Jack pulled away the camouflaging brush and found the old handle. It took both of them pulling to open the heavy door. Inside, the air was stale but cool. Rose's natural glow provided enough light to see by as they made their way down the concrete stairs. The bunker was bigger than Jack remembered, stretching deep into the mountain. "Here," Rose said, moving quickly to an old control room. The room was filled with ancient computers and radio equipment, all dead and silent. Perfect. They cannot see through these walls. Too thick, too much old metal. But as they began to explore the room, Rose suddenly grabbed Jack's arm. Her skin flashed warning patterns. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no. What's wrong?" "They let us come here," she said, her voice shaking. "Trap. They want me to connect to old systems. When I do..." She projected a hologram showing the bunker and the surrounding mountains. Small dots of light showed the hunter swarm and vehicles moving into position. "They will have me." Jack looked at the old equipment, then at Rose. "What happens if they catch you?" "They take control of me. Use me to find others who ran away. Use me to take Earth's machines all at once." Her skin rippled with dark patterns. "Many like me hide on Earth. Others who ran away. Who chose to be free. I know where they are, if watchers take my mind." A loud bang echoed through the bunker as something heavy hit the main door above. Rose's skin flashed in panic. "Options," Jack said firmly, falling back on his survival training. "Give me options." Rose's eyes swirled with calculations. 2 choices. Connect to old machines, send warning to Earth, but watchers catch me. Or, she touched one of the old computers, making it spark slightly. Use all my power. Bird myself out. Make electromagnetic pulse. Destroy hunter swarm. But destroy yourself." Jack finished. Another bang from above, louder this time. Through the concrete, they could hear the scraping of metal on metal as something tried to force its way in. Rose looked at Jack, her silver eyes showing both fear and determination. Help me choose, Jack. Help me choose right way. Neither, Jack said firmly, his voice rising above the sounds of invasion from above. There has to be another way. Rose's skin flickered in confusion. No other way. They come. Must choose. Jack looked around the old control room, his mind racing. 20 years of survival in the wilderness had taught him one thing. There was always another option if you looked hard enough. His eyes fell on the bunker's layout map on the wall. These old bunkers, he said quickly, they were built to survive nuclear war. They must have. Yes. Rose's eyes suddenly lit up with understanding. She projected a hologram of the bunker's full structure, other levels below, deep below, and her fingers traced lines of energy through the walls. Power lines. Old backup power, not connected to outside. Another crash from above. Closer now. Metal scraped against concrete as something large forced its way down the stairs. Show me everything about the backup power, Jack said. Rose touched the wall, sending ripples of light through the concrete. A new hologram appeared, showing a complex network of emergency systems. Generators deep below. Nuclear power, small but strong. Sleeping for many years. Can you wake them up? Yes, but Rose's skin darkened. Watchers will feel power when it starts. We'll know what we do. Jack smiled. Maybe that's exactly what we want. Above them, the sounds of invasion stopped. In the sudden silence, they could hear something moving through the bunker's corridors, getting closer. Something big. Trust me, Jack asked. Rose looked at him, her silver eyes swirling with calculations and emotions. Then she nodded. Trust you. Good. Wake up the generators, then follow my lead. Rose pressed her hands against the wall. Her skin began to glow brighter and brighter as she sent her power through the bunker's old systems. Deep below them, something hummed to life for the first time in decades. The door to the control room burst open. A massive shape filled the doorway. A creature made of swirling nanomechanes in roughly humanoid form. Behind it, more shapes moved in the darkness. Weapon Unit Rose 379. The creature spoke in a voice like static. Your resistance is illogical. Return to your purpose. Rose stepped forward, her skin glowing with power. My purpose is my choice. Incorrect. Your purpose was designed. Your abilities were designed. Your escape was designed. The creature's form rippled. We let you find this human. Let you hide. Let you run. All to find the others like you. The other, failed units. Jack's blood ran cold. What? Tell him, the creature commanded Rose. Tell him how you led us to this place. How your every move was calculated. Rose's skin dimmed to a dull gray. Jack, She has been ours from the beginning, the creature said. Her escape was programmed. Her fear was programmed. Her trust in you was programmed. All to find this place. But Jack was smiling. No, he said. You're wrong about one thing. Her trust in me. That was real. And that's why you've already lost. He pointed to the floor beneath them. The creature looked down just as Rose's power reached the generators far below. But instead of simply turning them on, she did something else, something the Watchers hadn't predicted. She turned them on wrong. The nuclear generators surged with power, but instead of following their normal patterns, they created a feedback loop. Energy coursed through the bunker's walls in ways it was never meant to flow. Now, Rose, Jack shouted. Rose's skin blazed like a sun as she connected to both the generators and the bunker's metal structure. She wasn't fighting the feedback loop. She was amplifying it, turning the entire bunker into one massive electromagnetic pulse generator. The creature's form began to break apart. What are you doing? Choosing, Rose said, her voice strong despite the strain. Choosing to trust. Choosing to be free. The last thing Jack saw before the pulse hit was Rose's smile. Not programmed, not calculated, but real. When Jack opened his eyes, the bunker was dark except for Rose's dim glow. Her light was weaker now, flickering like a candle in the wind. But she was alive, and she was smiling. "Did it work?" he asked, pushing himself up from the floor. "See for yourself," Rose whispered. Her hand trembled as she created a small hologram showing the world above them. The hunter swarm was gone. The possessed vehicles lay silent in the forest. The massive shapes of watcher ships hung motionless in the sky, their liquid metal surfaces frozen in mid-ripple. The electromagnetic pulse had been stronger than anything Earth had ever seen. "We stopped them," Jack said. "No." Rose's skin brightened slightly. "We did more." Pulse went through their network, through all their hidden places, through every machine they controlled. She touched the wall, showing more images. All across the world, hidden watcher technology was failing, becoming visible as it lost power. But the cost? Jack looked at Rose's weakened state. "Worth it," she said firmly. Pulse carried message too. To others like me. Others hiding. Showing them truth about Earth. About humans. She created another hologram, this one showing dozens of points of light across the globe. They rise now. Choose to help Earth. Above them, the bunker's old speakers crackled to life. A voice spoke. "Another watcher hybrid, somewhere in the world. We stand with Earth. We choose to be free." More voices joined in, speaking in different languages, but carrying the same message. Each voice was like Rose's, musical and strange, but with human warmth behind it. "The watchers made mistake," Rose said, her strength slowly returning. "They thought human DNA would make us better weapons, but it made us more. Made us feel. Made us dream." She touched Jack's hand. "Made us love." A deep rumbling shook the bunker. But this time, it wasn't from invaders. The frozen watcher ships were falling, crashing into unpopulated areas as their power failed completely. "What happens now?" Jack asked. Rose's skin brightened with determination. "Now we rebuild. Help humans understand. Prepare." She stood up straighter. "Watchers will come again. With new weapons. New plans. But Earth not alone now." She projected one final hologram, showing the entire solar system. Around Earth, points of light appeared. The other hybrids, using their powers not to destroy but to protect. They were creating a shield, a network of hybrid technology and human innovation combined. "They made us to control human machines," Rose said. "Instead, we work with them. Together." She looked at Jack. "If humans accept us." Jack thought about everything that had happened, about how a simple act of kindness, helping an injured stranger, had turned into something that saved the world. About how Rose had fought her own programming because she'd learned something the Watchers hadn't counted on: humanity. "Those voices we heard," he said, "all those others like you, they all found humans who helped them, didn't they? Who showed them kindness." Rose nodded. "Every free hybrid has human friend. Human who showed way." Her skin glowed with patterns that Jack now recognized as joy. Watchers thought humans were weapons to use. Never understood humans are light that shows better path. Outside the bunker, helicopters were approaching. Regular human helicopters this time. Rose's pulse had revealed the truth to everyone. There would be no more hiding. "Ready?" Jack asked, holding out his hand to Rose. She took it, her silver skin shimmering with renewed strength. "Ready. Still much work to do. Must help humans understand technology left behind. Must build defenses. Must heal Earth's machines." "We'll do it together," Jack said. "All of us, human and hybrid." Rose's eyes swirled with happy patterns. "Together," she agreed. "As should be. As will be." They walked up the bunker steps and into the dawn of a new day. Above them, the sky was clear of watcher ships, but filled with possibility. Earth would never be the same. It would be better. The story that began with one human helping one alien had become something larger. Proof that compassion was the most powerful force in any universe. The Watchers had tried to create the perfect weapon, but instead, they had helped forge the perfect alliance. And somewhere in deep space, their signal was spreading, carrying a simple message to any other hybrids who might be out there. Earth is free, and you can be too.